What is going on, online fitness coaches? It's your mentor, B Mark Fit, coming at you with another episode of the Change Lives, Make Money Online Training Podcast. This is the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to go successful online business. My name is Brian Mark, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about if you're not signing clients, maybe it's time to change the game. Okay, guys, so before we get into today's episode, something that I like to do is I like to give my podcast listeners shout outs. So if you're leaving me a rating on the podcast, what I want to do is I want to take a second to recognize you. So Keith Arrington, he's an amazing client of mine. He's at about $17,000 or $18,000 a month right now. So Keith literally said, Keith, Brian, you're a legend. I listen to this podcast every single morning while writing out my gratitudes and affirmations. The amount this podcast and the environment that you create through your coaching program has seriously changed my life. Thank you so much for everything, brother. So, dude, Keith, I just want to say thank you. That means a lot to me. This is my life's work. And so to know that I'm making a significant impact on your life and then being able to impact your clients' lives through your coaching is super cool. So, Keith, I just want to say thank you. I know that you're listening right now. Okay, so guys, we just had a mastermind with my level 2 trainers. And basically in the 10K mastermind, what we do is once you go through the 10K Coaching Academy and your business is at $5,000 a month, you join the 10K Mastermind. And in the 10K Mastermind, you get a lot of one-on-one time with me and Cole and Sasha, and we help you scale your business to the next level. And so we just had our 10K Mastermind class where we had, there was 8 students in the morning and there's 8 students at night. And we were talking about some of the students' struggles. One of the students, his name is Skylar Matthews. He was talking about how he's struggling in Facebook groups. So I'm going to give you guys some insight that might help you if you are struggling with Facebook groups, but this concept applies overall. So Sky was saying, so I'm having a really hard time expanding my network in Facebook groups. And, I'm spending, I'm in a few groups and I'm spending about 2 to 3 hours a day in groups. And I've been in the same groups for, a few weeks, and I haven't really been able to see positive results in my business. Like, I'm just wasting a bunch of time. I'm basically working really hard and I'm not getting an ROI for the time that I'm putting in. I'm like going in and I'm engaging and I'm leading, but I haven't gotten any clients from these groups. And I feel like I'm completely wasting my time. Before we go any further, who here has felt that? Or you're just feel like you're completely wasting your time on, XYZ, maybe you've been posting content for 30 days straight and you're just not getting any clients. Maybe you've ran a 14-day challenge and it just didn't work out. Maybe you're putting in a lot of work towards something, or you're getting on 7, maybe you've gotten on 7, 8, 9 sales calls and you've gotten all no's. So basically, if you are not getting results from the work that you're putting in, right? You're not getting results from the work that you're putting in. So me and Sky were talking about this, and he told me that he's spending about 1 to 2 hours a day in Facebook groups and he's not getting results. And before I tell you what I told Sky, I want to talk to you guys for a second about a football. So we're going to talk about American football, not soccer. Like American football, basically where you throw a ball. Anyways, so we're going to talk about football. When 2 teams are playing each other, right? When one team is playing the other team, right? They're both on the field. They're both trying to score on each other. They're both playing defense, etc. What do you feel? What do you think is the biggest difference in the game? Like, what do you guys really think? Like, who do you think gets the better result in the game? Who gets the better result in the game? There's two teams playing each other. Who gets the better result? What's actually happening on the field, right? The players are all running around trying to score, but what's actually happening there? Sure, the people are throwing the ball and they're trying to score on each other, and there's tackles happening, and there's, there's passes being thrown. There's runs that are happening, but what's actually happening? Aha, yes. Game plan and strategy. Game plan and strategy. That's it. The game plan and strategy. Game plan and strategy. One team comes to the game with a certain game plan and strategy. The other team comes to the game with a certain game plan and strategy, and then they execute on that strategy. Each member of the team, essentially their job is to execute the strategy. Execute the strategy that was given to them. So it's their coach's job to make sure that they're trained properly and they're, everybody's doing their assigned roles, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, each team is just playing out a strategy. Okay, so let's talk about your coaching business, right? In your coaching business right now, if you are posting 5 to 6 times a week and you're not getting results, then you're currently playing out a strategy. And if you're posting 5 to 6 times a week and you're not getting results, that means your strategy is broken. It's nothing to do with you as a person. Like, it's not like you're a bad person or you're a bad online coach or you have a low following and that's why nobody's engaged with you. It's simply a strategy problem. That's literally it. And so Skylar, my client, I'll tell you what I told him in a second, but it's the exact same thing for all your sales calls, right? If you booked 9 sales calls and all of them said no, that doesn't mean you suck at sales. It means you need to work on your strategy. And like, there's a lot of just calmness in this because I don't think that a lot of us are thinking strategy because most online coaches are just thinking work ethic. But if you work really hard with the wrong strategy, what's going to happen? Let's think about your fitness clients for a second. How many of you guys have ever enrolled a fitness client into your online coaching program and they told you, they're like, yo, I'm doing 2 hours of cardio a day, eating 600 calories. This has actually happened to me. I've been doing 2 hours a day, eating 600 calories. I want it. And you're like, okay, I understand you're very ambitious and you want to be successful, but doing 2 hours a day of cardio and eating 600 calories is not the best strategy and the right game plan in order to get you there, right? So you need to adjust your strategy and you need to pivot. And so for me, here's my thing is, I was talking to Skylar and I'm like, dude, so you're spending 2 hours a day right now working on Facebook groups and you're not getting an ROI. He's like, yes. I'm like, okay, so all of this can be solved with a strategy, like literally a strategy session. And I'm going to call the whole podcast, the whole idea, this is going to be centralized around a strategy session. Okay. So we're going to call this a strategy session. So I want you guys to write that down. If you're taking notes, I'm calling this a strategy session. So I was like, dude, Sky, so you're in 5 groups right now. You're putting in a bunch of work. None of them getting results. Is that right? He's like, yes. I'm like, I have an idea for you. I'm like, what if you sat down every single Sunday for 15 to 20 minutes and you literally just analyzed how your previous week went in terms of Facebook groups? How much time did you put in? How many posts did you make? How many leads did you get from those groups? And how many clients did you sell? You do a 15-minute strategy session every single week. And then if you notice, so you pick your 5 groups and you're posting all the time and your goal is to get 10 leads a week. And then you sit down at the end of the week and you do a little strategy session with yourself and you sit down and you're like, oh, like I actually didn't get any leads from Facebook group and from these Facebook groups. Maybe you're in the wrong groups. So if you keep doing the same thing, if you keep applying the same strategy over and over and over again, and you're not getting results, Einstein calls that the definition of insanity. So if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, and we just expect things are going to change, it's just nothing's going to happen. So I'm calling this a strategy session. And guys, I do this with my own goals as well. Like every single week I sit down and I goal set, but I'm not actually sitting down and goal setting. I'm doing like a self-analysis. I'm like, okay, cool. So my goal last week was to book 5 calls. Let's pretend I'm an online trainer. My goal last week was to book 5 calls. Okay, I only booked 3. Why? Like, what was I doing? Let's take a look at my social media posts. And then I go into my social media posts and I see the ones that I posted. I'm like, okay, well, I only posted 3 times last week. And, if I want to book 5 calls, then I can't only be posting 3 times. So that's a big problem. All right, let's take a look at my stories. What was I posting in my stories? And I literally go into the archive and I'll go create my stories. I'm like, oh man, like I didn't post very much of my stories either. I'm like, how am I supposed to be relative in my ideal client's eyes if I'm not active on my stories, I'm not active on my social media? And so I wanted to book 5 calls, but the reason I didn't book 5 calls is because I look at my strategy session and I only post on social media 3 times. And so if I do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, like nothing's going to change. So my goal for next week is to change the strategy. You can't just set a new goal. You also have to change the strategy. Like, what are you going to do differently this week that you didn't do last week that's going to get you closer to that goal? That's a strategy session. So for me and Sky in the mastermind, I literally told them, I'm like, every single week, you're going to sit down and you're going to do a strategy session with yourself. And you're going to analyze what's going on right now in your online coaching business. Are you getting leads and clients? If you're not getting leads and clients from your Facebook groups, it means you're generating leads from the wrong Facebook groups. And obviously, guys, there's so many different things you can post in Facebook groups and so many things that you can do. That's actually something that we covered in that same mastermind class. But this is just like, if you're doing the right things in the wrong groups, you're not going to get good results. So even if you do the right things, but you do them in the wrong place, you're not going to get optimal results, right? So it's a strategy session. But this doesn't just apply to network expanding. This applies to everything. Like if you're not getting results in your coaching business right now on any single level, then you need to analyze what you're doing wrong in your strategy. So if your content has super low engagement, you probably need to get better at writing content. Because if you were good at writing content, your content would get decent engagement, right? And I'm not saying thousands and thousands of likes, but what I am saying is if you have like 15 people like your post, but nobody comments on it and nobody loves it, that's bad engagement. Because it's like you didn't write anything that really hit home. So if you're writing content and your content isn't getting decent engagement from your ideal client, then you should do a strategy session with yourself and you should sit down and you should analyze your own content. And this isn't about being perfect either, by the way. This is about making small nominal changes. Like if I look at my content strategy and I'm like, oh, well, Brian Mark said I should be posting social proof, connection, and value. And I only posted value last week. So my strategy this week is I'm going to sit down. I'm going to make sure that I write at least 2 social proof posts, right? So that's a strategy session. Now let's take that same idea and let's apply it to you booking phone calls. Like if you're having a hard time booking phone calls, right? Like if you're having a hard time getting prospects on the phone, then you need to analyze the way that you're generating leads. Like how are you generating leads right now? If you're in the 10K Coaching Academy, we give you tons of resources in order to generate leads, but perhaps the strategy that we're giving you is not the strategy that you're applying, right? Like we can give you a strategy at PT Dom, but then you actually have to use it. How we say you should use it. And this is something that, you know, let's go back to the football coach analogy. If I'm the football coach and I want my players to run a certain play and they run it how they want to run it, we're not going to get the same results. But if I'm the football coach, it's my job to like train it into my players. Like, yo, this is how we're running the play and we're all going to do this unified as a team. Like that's like the coach's responsibility. So it's my job to constantly remind you, this is the play, this is the play, this is the play. But if you're not booking calls, like take a look at your strategy. Like, how are you lead generating? Like, how are you prospecting? How are you starting these conversations? Are you sending out cold messages to people on hashtags that are complete strangers that have no idea who you are? Are you in Facebook groups friending random people and hoping that they're going to purchase your program, considering you're just a complete and total stranger? What are you doing, right? So that's if you're booking calls. You need to analyze the way that you're lead generating, and you need to analyze the way that you're communicating with your clients in the DMs. This goes beyond that though, because if you're getting on phone calls and you're not making sales, then it's not because the market sucks. It's not because it's the holidays. It's not because of the pandemic. It's not because people are out of work because of lockdown. Because I have trainers right now. I have a trainer right now that's made $37,000, $42,000 so far this month. So it has nothing to do with the holidays. It has nothing to do with the coronavirus. It has everything to do with how you're handling the objections and how you're framing the call. So if you're getting on the phone call right now and you're not selling clients, it has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with your strategy. How are you showing up to the call? Are you showing up like optimistic? Are you showing up excited? Are you showing up ready to serve your client? Or are you showing up expecting to make a sale? Are you showing up using a script and being a robot? Are you showing up thinking, oh, there's no way they're going to purchase? Then when you're going through the script, what's your strategy like? Like, are you clear, crisp, and confident? Or are you kind of hesitant and skeptical and not really sure if this is going to work out for them? All of these things make a difference. Is this making sense? And so if you're not getting results in your coaching business right now, if you're not signing clients, if you're not attracting leads, if you're not building a bigger network, then instead of continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, Einstein calls that insanity. What I want you to do is I really want you to take a look at your strategy. As in, what are you doing right now in your coaching business that's not working? What are you doing right now in your coaching business that needs improvement? And your job isn't to be the expert, because the truth is you don't know shit and I don't know shit. Like, I'm still learning. And so whenever I'm looking at my strategy, I'm not thinking like, oh, I'm the freaking smartest human alive and I'm going to figure all of this out. But like, my goal every time I sit down and I have a strategy session with myself is to get 1% better. Okay. Like, how can I make this a little bit better next week? How can I make this a little bit better next week? How can I make this a little bit better next week? And then those nominal improvements over time are what lead to, you know, when I look and I'm like, holy shit, like, I can't believe we're serving 550 online coaches. But it's because I made nominal improvements over time, always pivoting, always slightly changing the strategy, figuring out what's working, figuring out what's not, and making sure that every single week I'm adjusting my game plan. Does this make sense, online fitness coaches? Is this clear? Sometimes working hard isn't enough, right? Sometimes we can be working really hard and heading in the wrong direction. Sometimes we can be working really hard and just doing the wrong things faster. And so if we just take a little bit of time every single week to redirect our strategy and to refocus and try something different and try to get 1% better every single day, like, that is what matters, right? So if you're putting in the work right now, and if you're the type of online coach that is hustling, that is grinding, and just like isn't seeing progress, ask yourself what area of your business needs the most work, right? Is it the content? Right? Are you just posting lots of content, but it's not getting a lot of engagement and it's not leading to clients? Change your content strategy. Is it the way that you're communicating with your clients, right? Is it the way that you're DMing your clients back and forth? Is it the way that you're in the DM script? So if that's the case, sit down and take a look at your DM script and ask yourself, like, what am I not doing that's Brian's told me to do? Like, what am I like trying to avoid that I should be doing that Brian's like telling me to do, right? So what sort of content or what sort of strategy shift do you need to make this next week, right? Same thing with sales calls. And guys, this even comes down to the delivery of your program, man. Like, listen, online coach, if you have a lot of clients dropping off your program, it's because your program is broken. It has nothing to do with the holidays. It has nothing to do with coronavirus. It has nothing to do with the pandemic. And the reason I say this is because I have a client right now. His name is Jay Stewart. And this dude has over 100 active clients, 100 high ticket clients. It's nothing to do with the market, and his retention rate is through the roof. And so if you are not, like, if your clients are dropping out of your program, it's because your program is broken. So you need to sit down with yourself probably this week and every week for the next 4 weeks and do a strategy session with yourself and be like, what do I need to fix in this? How do I need to improve this? How do I need to change this? I'm not really sure how I can like make this better. And if you're in my coaching program, the 10K Coaching Academy, you better post in the Facebook group so that I can give you some feedback. And if you're outside of the coaching program, you can reach out to me on Instagram and just shoot me a DM and I'll see if I can help. But ask for help, ask for feedback, right? Change the strategy. Guys, that is it. That is all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Change Lives Make Money Online Training Podcast, the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow a successful online business. If you got value from this episode, I want you to do something with it. I don't just want you to sit here and get inspired and say like, oh, that was cool and I'm glad I learned something. It's like, no, do something. Do something. Sit down and strategize with yourself. Ask yourself how you can get better. Ask yourself how you can improve. And if you're asking for my advice, I would highly recommend this becomes a weekly ritual. For me, this is like something that I do every single week. This is what allows me to make progress, is I don't like to make the same mistake twice, ever. Like, I hate it. Like, if I do the same thing twice and I'm just like, I feel like a moron. And so I can just avoid, making the same mistake twice or 3 times or 4 times by sitting down and looking at myself and asking myself where I'm going wrong. And that's why it's a weekly ritual, right? That's why it's a weekly ritual. So that's it. That's all. Hope you guys have the best day of your entire life, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.